Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to offer my no vote explanation. Michigan has some of the worst roads in the country, a fact that is abundantly clear to me once a month as I make the long and treacherous drive to Columbus, Ohio, where it is so clear because driving through Michigan is like rumble strips. I get to Ohio and I'm almost falling asleep at the road because the roads are so smooth, and I come back and I don't need to see the sign welcoming me back to Michigan. I feel it on the road as my car starts to gyrate. Michigan's roads are terrible, and we've got to fix them. And I don't think that this transportation budget is the time to do that. The leadership has agreed that we're going to come back and fund and do a long-term solution for transportation, and this isn't it. In this budget, we should just do the things that we need to do and not spend any general fund dollars. But for all of you, I think we can all agree that there is never a time that we want Buckeyes to be better at anything than us. And that's what we see with Ohio roads. And in Michigan, we see a host of cosmetic fixes and one-time explanations on how we're going to fund a problem that needs a real solution. And I will agree with every member of this chamber that says no one wants to pay new taxes. No one wants to pay higher taxes. But every single one of us is tired of paying the cost of indecision, which for Southeastern Michiganders is something like $800 a year, according to a recent Crain's report. And that's something that I know a lot about because my wife gets a flat tire every couple months. So I am almost a professional at changing tires because I live in Detroit and our roads are terrible. And when you talk about that, that's driving on Ryan or Mound or Harper, on Davison. It's crossing over roads that are routinely shut down because rebarb is popping out. So there's a spot on Davison where there is a pothole or crater size large enough for me to lay down in with my good friend, the Lieutenant Governor. And so it's not impressive that I can lay in a pothole, but when you can see this man laying flat down in a space that you can't drive a car across, that talks about the danger that we have in this community. Many of you have often heard me talk about my father and his service as a firefighter, and you got a chance to see him earlier today. But when we talk about how dangerous it is for emergency vehicles, there are whole roads that they can't use in my community that are ruined because of this very issue. But let's talk a little bit about what this package does. It means $106 million in funding, which sounds like a lot of money, except it's 98 lane miles of the roughly 6,300 we have in Michigan, which is about 1.5%. So we're talking about spending money to fix 1.5%. We might as well not do that. We might as well not divert those dollars that could be being spent on children, on young kids. I mean, in the school aid fund, if we had had that $105 million, we could have fully funded pre-K education for Detroiters, for folks all across this state. That's how we should be spending these general fund dollars, on programs that will make an impact, not saying we made a difference. We fixed some roads. 98 miles is not fixing some roads. It's telling people that we are, again, wasting valuable tax dollars. And I think for the last 8 years, we got the constant refrain that we needed to root out fraud, waste, and abuse, that we needed to be more lean. And I'll take your word for it. If that's what Republicans did over the last 8 years of control, we'll take that for granted. We'll accept that. But we can't continue to say that we can do more with less. We have to finally admit that you get what you pay for, and we are not paying for good roads. We are not paying for safe bridges. We are not paying for things that make a difference. You all have gotten a chance to meet my daughter. She will be 2 in December. But the greatest concern I had as I was rushing my wife to the hospital on the lodge at 5 in the morning was not how quickly am I going to get there, but am I going to break a rim taking my daughter, or well, taking my wife to an emergency situation, driving as fast as I could possibly go. Am I going to break a rim? And that is the reality that we face every day. The reality that folks have to deal with of bridges collapsing. We're talking about spending enough money to fix just 4 bridges in this budget. We're going to fix just 4 bridges. And so the TRIP, a national transportation research group, said that Michiganders lose $4.6 billion in depreciation to their vehicles every year. And all of you know that. You've all seen it on your cars with your suspensions, with the impact, with your resale value. That is $1.9 billion in difference to the $2.5 billion that the governor said we needed to raise. Michiganders are already paying for it. The question is, are we going to pay to fix it, or are we going to continue to pay for it to be broken, for it to continue to cause us issues? Because the only people who are making money in Michigan on roads are the auto repair dealers, the body shops, who are making money hand over fist, because every day we are all forced to spend money that we don't have. So, Mr. President, I'd ask that my remarks be printed in the Journal.